Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Cape Coral. And this is our Sunday celebration where we are here celebrating your spiritual magnificence. Isn't that great? We want to also let you know that wherever you are on your spiritual path, you are welcome here. We believe that we are co-creators with the divine and that you can change your entire life by how? Yes, sir. Ernest Holmes is the founder of our philosophy, and we teach the universal truths found in all spiritual teachings, both traditional and contemporary. Please visit our website at cslcapecoral.org for information on upcoming events. We do a lot of things here to submit a prayer request or to send us comments and questions. And we want to be able to contact you, so please reach out. And now we are having a Big Love Band. They've changed the slides on me, so I'm a little tongue-tied this morning. So please give a warm welcome to our amazing Big Love Band.
Come on and stand and join us. Come with me out by the ocean. Come with me out by the sea. Walk with me down by the water. Let me bathe you in the deep. We will build a boat together, turn our faces towards the sun, set ourselves into the wind and set out where we two are one. Oh, come with me. Ooh. Come with me up to the mountain. Come with me up to the sky. Up where we can see forever, suspended between space and time. Ready for whatever happens, nothing like we've ever dreamed. Everything and more awaits us in this land of evergreen. Oh, come with me. Ooh. Believe and breathe it. We got a lifetime to explore. Oh, come with me up to the city. Come with me back to the crowd. Caught up in the stir puzzle. Take my hand, let's live out loud. Fill me up with true belonging. Revel in this ecstasy. Looks just like we always planned it. Blessed synchronicity. Oh, come with me. Ooh. Sing another one. We got to get this mechanical drum set from high down to a lower tempo. So you get to look at me. How's everybody's weekend? Thank you.
All right, here we go.
of grace overflow in us. Decorate this place as it is below, so it is above. May we always stand in the name of love. When the veil is gone, there's only one of us, only one, in the name of love. When the day is done, we will sing a song, all is one, in the name of love. In the name of love. When the day is done, we will sing a song, all is one, in the name of love. In the name of love. In the name of love.
And everybody stayed standing. Yay. In the name of love, indeed. So in the name of love, let's rub our hands together and get some love action going. And turn them out to your neighbor. If you're at home, turn them out to the world or to yourself. Why not? So please repeat these beautiful words with me, this blessing. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. We know who you truly are. You are the spiritual image and likeness of God. We appreciate you, we love you, and we are thankful you are here. Welcome to the center.
Encouragement to someone who's lost their way. Or would I be talking to a stone if I asked you to share a problem that's not your own. We can change things if we start giving. Why don't you reach out and touch somebody's hand? Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, just try. If you see an old friend on the street and he's down, remember his shoes will fit your feet. Try a little kindness and you'll see it goes a very long way. We can change things if we start giving. Why don't you reach out and touch somebody's hand? Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can.
Thank you, Big Love Band. Awesome, as always. All right. So as I said, as I said earlier today, that this month we are doing the Prosperity Conscious Month here at CSL Cape Coral. And today's message will be on the law of circulation. And I picked out of the Science of Mind magazine, the Law of Circulation page, which is also, people here may know, Reverend Emile Gavreau wrote this. Yes. And it's just perfect for today. So I'll go ahead and read this. I had something else picked out, but I really like this much better. So it's titled To Circulate or Not to Circulate. To circulate or not to circulate, it is not even a question. About 20 years ago, Reverend Emile heard a recording of Ernest Holmes speaking a treatment in which the phrase perfect assimilation, circulation, and elimination rolled right off of his tongue. Reverend Emile uses this phrase often as it is a perfect expression of the law of circulation. It relates to everything from the expression of abundance in an individual's life to the health of their body temple. Reverend Emile is a big fan of the law of attraction. However, attraction can only work if we are practicing circulation. We have to be more than just attractive to the universe to flow in and through us. The fundamental shift that must occur is the movement of energy in our lives, that is, giving and receiving. This is huge for those of us who were taught to believe that we did not have much to give. And I want to flow freely, and yet I still find places in my life where I hold back, where I still believe that either I do not have enough or that I gave enough in other areas. This blocks the flow. Circulation creates the flow that makes the law of attraction, and while a whole lot more work. This is true for the individual prosperity and the prosperity of our centers. When we practice freely, giving and receiving, we create the environment for growth together. Our spiritual movement has lined itself up under the banner of a wonderful vision, creating a world that works for everyone and reaching 100 million people. This vision will become a reality only when we are individually and collectively circulating our energies in the form of time, talent, and treasure. We must put it out into the world and be ready to receive it, the massive influx that the universe will express in us as our centers, Center for Spiritual Living. Taking this into prayer. Knowing that there is one source, one infinite intelligence, one spirit I call God, and that God is in, as, and through me, just as it is in, as, and through each individual here in the center today and those watching online. And knowing this, I am grateful, so grateful for the opportunity to express that spirit through my being, just as everyone here expresses individually through their being and collectively together. In this message today of circulating, of prosperity, of abundance, the law of circulation, I know that each one here has the ability, and it takes the desire to put it into action of the time, talent, and treasure of each individual here today. And knowing this, I know that the circulation comes through the giving and receiving. It has to go both ways, giving and receiving, to be the flow of circulation. And knowing this, I am so grateful and blessed, and everyone here else blessed today, knowing that this is the divine mind working. And I anchor this into the divine mind, knowing that it is so, and together we can say, and so it is. And it is my pleasure to welcome Reverend Gregory Toole via Zoom to our center today with his message.
Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living Cape Coral Community, and thank you, Karen, for that beautiful reading and prayer. Thank you, Big Love Band. Thank you, Linda. I was a little out of sorts with the service this morning because my computer would not cooperate. And just up until the last moment here, it finally came up so that I could be with you all. And it was an exercise in trust this morning, an exercise in faith, an exercise in surrender. But here I am because it was divinely appointed for me to be here with you this morning to talk about the law of circulation, to talk about flowing with the law of circulation. And I love the reading that Karen just did from Reverend Emil, where he was talking about how we have to learn this law of circulation, and for our centers and for each of us individually to flourish, that's what we really need to learn. And I love that because I have taught for many years that, people talk a lot about fundraisers, right? Like let's have a fundraiser, and fundraisers are great, right? Fundraisers can bring in extra money to a center, and they can be fundraisers, right? We can have fun with them. But ultimately, where I usually put my energy is to really teach people about the law of circulation, to teach people about tithing. Tithing is this ancient practice where we give a tenth of our income, we give a tenth of the first fruits to our source of spiritual inspiration. And what I see is that if everyone in the community did that, the communities would flourish and thrive. And not only would the community flourish and thrive like the spiritual center, but each individual would thrive as well. Why is that? That is because this phrase, you cannot outgive God. And when I've given that phrase, many times people have said, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? I cannot outgive God. What it means is that there's a law and that there's a principle, and that this law and this principle says that whatever you give gets returned back to you multiplied. So if we really knew that, everyone would be beating down the door to find places to give and ways to give of their time, their talent, their treasure, their money, And it really is a law. And so this is what I want to inquire into today. And this is what I want to invite you to inquire into today, not to just take my word for it, that there is this thing called the law of circulation and that it really is true, but your own inquiry, because if it really is true that there's a law of circulation and whatever we give gets returned to us multiplied, pressed down and running over so many times more, that would be really important to know that that really is true. And then if we really knew that that was true, we really believed with every fiber of our being that that was true, it would free us up, because we would be freed up from this idea that when I have more, I'll give more. Because then we would know that it doesn't begin with the having, it begins with the giving. The giving is where it starts. And I want to share a couple of quotes from Joel Goldsmith about that. Joel Goldsmith says in his book, The Art of Spiritual Healing, in spiritual truth, supply is not income, it is outgo. He says, start the flow of giving and you will start the flow of supply. Many times we think that when I have more time, I'll be of more service to my spiritual community or to local organizations or wherever we're called to serve, where they think when I have more money, then I'll start to give more. And it really doesn't work that way. We basically stay stuck when we're in that sense of lack, in that sense of finiteness. And the real invitation is to begin to trust in this law of circulation. And this month, as we're in our Prosperity Month, we're in our month where we're doing a committed giving campaign, and you probably received a letter and a brochure and a pledge card. And if you haven't, they'll be available at the center there. And this is an invitation to be very intentional about your giving, which tithing and practicing the law of circulation is a very intentional practice. You know, I've been tithing for over 20 years myself, and that means I've given 10% of my income to my source of spiritual inspiration for over 20 years. Never looked back, never missed a single penny that I've given, because again, so much more was returned back to me. So in knowing that and in practicing that, I wouldn't dare not tithe. It has become like breathing. It is like I inhale, but I also exhale. I would never dream, I would never think for a moment, probably nor would you, to only inhale, right? There's the inhale, and then naturally from the inhale comes the exhale, right? Or does the exhale start it? And then naturally from the exhale, from that vacuum, comes the inhale, where we fill our lungs back up. The law of circulation and tithing is very much like breathing. It is just the nature of things. Everything tends toward balance and equilibrium. And the equilibrium is when we're in the balance of giving and receiving. Now, some of us are out of flow in the other direction. We're out of flow. We're just giving, and we're unable to receive. We're unable to accept good coming into us. And that is just as much an out of balance as for those who are out of balance in not willing to give side. So we want to come into this balance where we're able to give and we're able to receive, and we're just in that flow of giving and receiving. So let's inquire into this practice of the law of circulation, because again, once we understand that, it changes our whole life, right? We're no longer holding back. We're no longer thinking that I can't give until I receive more, because we understand, as Joel Goldsmith says, that the receiving starts with the giving. That's what starts the flow. Joel Goldsmith says in that same book, the bread that you cast upon the water is earmarked for return back to you. And he says, that your true prosperity is what you're able to give, not what you're able to receive, because the giving is what starts the receiving. So we want to learn to be in the flow with this law of circulation. I want to talk a little bit about doing things intentionally, because again, this practice of the law of circulation, this practice of tithing is very intentional. So instead of just giving randomly, like just giving whatever we give, it's like, okay, whatever I give today is what I give. we're very intentional about it. We say, I'm going to give 10% of my income. And by the way, we can start at any place, right? The intentionality means that I'm very clear on what I'm giving. I'm very clear on what my practice is. And so let's say 10% for us right now is just a real leap. Then we might start practicing with 1%, right? But still, we're being very intentional when we say 1%. It's not a random thing. It's like, okay, every week, every month, whatever, I'm gonna give 1% of whatever comes into me. I'm gonna give that back to my spiritual source of inspiration. And in doing so, we're already setting up something very intentional. I was thinking this week when I was thinking about doing things intentionally about a tennis team I was on about 6-7 years ago. And it was a group of guys. None of us had ever competed before, but we started playing in a USTA league. And the next thing you know, we found out we were doing so well that we were going to play other teams in our area to see if we could win the whole area. And we went there and we won the whole area. And then we after we did that, they said, oh, and by the way, now you'll go to another tournament and see if you could win the whole state of Colorado, which is where I was living at the time. And then we won that. And so we won the whole state of Colorado. And then they said, well, now you go to Salt Lake City and you're going to play in the Mountain Regional Tournament to see if you go to the Nationals. And we did very well at the regionals, but we missed going to the Nationals by 2 points, really. And so the key thing I was remembering about that is all of us had just kind of played tennis randomly before that. You know, it's just like, oh, go out, hit the ball, whatever. And in this case, we had started taking lessons. We had started practicing 4 or 5 times a week. We became very intentional about it. And the result was amazing. We were blown away because none of us ever imagined we were even going to be going to those kind of tournaments. We were just playing and having fun, but we had become very intentional with the practice, with our playing of tennis. And it's similar with other things. When we become intentional, it becomes much more powerful because it becomes more conscious. So it's like anything we do consciously is going to be more expansive than that which we do randomly or unconsciously. Many people have asked the question, is this thing about giving to your source of spiritual inspiration, is that really a thing? Or can you just give anywhere? Like, can you give to charities? Or, is there a difference? And in my journey over these 27 years of being in Science of Mind and deeply interested in the prosperity principles, I've really experimented with that. And I've really gone deep into my being to see, for me, what my answer is to that. And I want to very clearly say my answer, because my answer doesn't have to be your answer, right? You get to inquire deeply into your being and into your practice and see what you discover. But my answer was that there is a difference between giving to my source of spiritual inspiration and just giving to charity. Now, here's one of the things I want to say, though. I want to say that the law of circulation works regardless, right? Goldsmith didn't say, only if you give this way or give that way does this law of circulation work. The law of circulation works regardless, right? If you give more of your time, if you forgive someone, if you give some things away, all of those things put you in the flow of the law of circulation. All of those things are really valuable. However, what I've discovered is that there's a deeper mystical truth when we want to go to that next level, right? All of those things invoke the law of circulation. Whenever we give, we're putting ourselves more in the flow of life. But what I have discovered, and most of the spiritual teachers who are the top spiritual teachers around prosperity, spiritual prosperity principles would agree with me. That doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that I have a lot of people agreeing with me. Discover that there's this higher mystical truth. There's this higher mystical connection when we link giving our money back to God, when we link giving our money back to the source of where we get spiritually fed. What I have found is qualitatively at a feeling level, at an energetic level, for me, it's different when I just give to charity. But by the way, because we cannot outgive God, the fact that we give the fact that I give 10% of my income to my spiritual source of inspiration does not mean that I still can't give to charity, right? Because I start to expand into a much bigger sense of my prosperity and abundance. And we really cannot outgive God. So I can give to my spiritual home, and I can then still give to local charities, or when a friend is involved in some charitable thing, I can still give to that. There's no limitation. I don't have to put a limitation on what I can give. And that's the beauty of this law of circulation. That's the beauty of truly understanding what it means to say we cannot outgive God. Because when we don't understand that, we think, well, I can only give so much. I only have so much. and we should always start where we are. We shouldn't start somewhere else. If we really are not at that place yet where we can give 10%, or where we can give 10% and then give another 5% on top of that to local charities, if we're not there yet, then don't do that, right? Start where you are, but start somewhere. Start being very intentional about your giving, and find out also if this mystical truth, it resonates for you. Find out if there's something different about giving to your source of spiritual inspiration versus just giving to charities and what have you. And then, come in, the scripture says that God loves a cheerful giver. There's a scripture in Corinthians that, let's see if I have it here handy. There's a scripture in Corinthians that says, in 2 Corinthians 9:6, it says, he who sows sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he who sows bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according to the purpose in his heart. So let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. So this is the spirit in which we want to give. This is a paradox, right? Because we're teaching the law of circulation, and we're teaching that if you want to be prosperous, you have to be in the flow of giving, right? It starts with giving, and you have to give. But here's the paradox. When we give, we don't give in order to receive. We give with an open heart. We give from love with no expectation of receiving anything else back. We don't have to worry about that. It's a law. When you give, you're automatically going to receive something back. So you don't have to be thinking like, am I going to get something back? And that would obstruct your use of the law if you're giving with some expectation that I'm going to get something back. So we give just totally from love. Like when I give to my spiritual communities, oh my goodness, it's such an act of love. It's such a beautiful thing. I love giving to all the spiritual communities I've been a part of for the last 20 plus years. It's fun. It's a joy. It's a great joy to give. And so we give from absolute unconditional love, no expectation of getting anything back. And don't worry about that. The law takes care of itself. So we're this cheerful giver. We're giving totally from love. We're giving totally from the overflow. Don't give from strain and struggle and, oh my God, and fear and all of that. No, don't even give from that place. Give less. Bored people usually don't like me to say that, but I'll say give less and give it, but give an amount you can give cheerfully, lovingly, freely, and then it will automatically expand. How much you give will automatically expand because you'll be in the flow of the law of circulation, and you'll become so expansive in your prosperity that you'll want to give more and more and more, because the things that bound you before, the fear that if I give, then I won't have enough, has been eliminated. And that fear no longer exists because you come into the awareness, wow, it really is true that I cannot outgive God. The more I give, it just more comes back to me. So it's you can see how you would be joyful with that, right? It's very fun, right? Like I've shared many times the story of one of the times I was just playing with the law, literally playing and having fun with the law of circulation, where there was a woman who had given a workshop, and it was such a good workshop, even though it was already paid for, I wanted to tithe to her on top of that. I wanted to give her an offering on top of that. And when I went to get my checkbook, I was having this inner dialogue with myself where I was laughing because I was thinking, I have no desire to get anything back. I am just so happy to give her this check. But isn't it funny? And isn't it interesting? And isn't it wonderful that something will come back to me? I don't need it to. I'm not trying to have it come back. But isn't it wonderful that something will come back to me just because that's the law of circulation? It's just the way it works. And I handed her the check. And within taking 2 steps, someone handed me an envelope. And there was a totally unexpected tithe to me directly for multiple times more than the check I had given her. And it's one of the more poignant examples for me that I always remember that illustrates that. And the funny thing was that I was really having fun and playing with the law of circulation and really giving from my heart, totally giving from my heart, but having some humor about the fact that, wow, I can't outgive God if I try. The universe is going to give me back so much more than what I give. So we have to get this. It's similar to what Reverend Emil's quote was saying that Karen read, right? That this is what we have to get. If we're really to be prosperous individually and we're really to be prosperous as spiritual communities, we have to get this, right? Otherwise, we start to try to cheat ourselves, cheat God, cheat our spiritual community. We're always trying to find a way around it. It's like when people would always say, well, when I tithe, should I tithe on my net income or my gross income? And we start trying to find, or if I give over here, does that count? When we're in that space, we're really like dicing down. I don't know what the right word would be for it, but we're instead of playing big, instead of stepping into the expansiveness and the abundance of who we are and the abundant life that we're here to live, we start playing small. We start playing in this very finite realm. And how can we have abundance and prosperity when we're living in such a finite realm? We're living in such fear and such limitation. So this is the beauty of the law of circulation, and play with it, have fun with it. Don't take it seriously. It's not meant to be so serious. And it's like the scripture says, be a joyful giver. Give from unconditional love. Have fun with giving, and that will even put more energy into magnifying your giving and the impact of your giving, but also to magnify the impact of your receiving and what you receive back, because you truly cannot outgive God. So it behooves us, and that is the invitation this morning. The invitation this morning is not to take one word that I said as true until you discover it for yourself. Because we all have to own it, right? The only reason I can be so passionate about the law of circulation and tithing is because of my own experience, because I've discovered it for myself. I mean, it was very interesting to read about it in the books and hear other teachers talk to me about it early in my journey. It really captivated me. I was like, really? Is that really true? I want to find out. But the real part of it, where it became real for me, because in my early days, I would sort of be like, oh, well, this month, I don't really have as much coming in. I'm going to stop my tithing this month. I'll practice that law of circulation again next month. And then I really got to notice when I would do that, how much my lack consciousness kicked in and how much even my flow of prosperity would dwindle, even just by taking that little break. And I began to realize that it truly is like breathing, right? We want to be in that flow, right? We don't want to just inhale, no exhale, right? We want to inhale, exhale. We're in the flow of life. We're in the ease of the flow of abundance and prosperity. My first minister in Science of Mind said, before I had the consciousness to understand how that could possibly be true, she used to say, money is the easiest thing to manifest. And I was like, really? I've had to struggle and strain. I mean, I've had a great deal of prosperity already up until that point, but it was through much sweat of my brow, struggle and strain. So that was a very captivating moment when she said, money is the easiest thing to manifest. All of these things we have to get for ourselves. So my invitation this morning is to start from wherever you are and begin to practice the law of circulation. It doesn't matter where you start, right? But start with something really intentional. Don't do it randomly, because then you're not fully practicing it. So whatever you do, even if it's 1/2 of 1% or 1/10 of 1%, Start from wherever you are, and don't be ashamed, because this is not about obligation. This is not about guilt. This is not about any of that. This is about understanding a law and a principle, and practicing that law and that principle, and seeing how it impacts your life and how you feel, right? I am a joyful giver. I love giving to my spiritual communities, and I love the knowledge that I can do that freely, not worrying about, am I going to have enough for myself at the end of the month? So start where you are, whatever the percentage is, be very intentional, and perhaps join in on our committed giving, Center for Spiritual Living Cape Coral's committed giving program, where you just step in and say, okay, this is what I'm going to give for 2022. You're being very intentional. You're being very conscious. You're giving from love. You're giving from your overflow. You're not giving from fear. You're not giving from obligation, but you're very intentional and very conscious. And then watch how that starts to change your life. I bet you, well, I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, I would bet you that if you put an amount down for next year that you're going to give, and you're very intentional about it, and you give it from joy and love, I would bet that by the end of the year, you will have given more than what you put down. Simply because that's how the law of circulation works. You cannot outgive God. So much more is going to come back to you. And then you'll just want to give more, right? And then we're just in that flow, constantly in that flow. So thank you so much for listening this morning. Let's take that into prayer this morning. Let's take our abundance and prosperity into prayer. And so we turn within to know that God is, and that there is nothing else, that there is just one power, and it is a power of love. And this one power of love is living through and as me, and through and as each one of us, that we are divine inlets and outlets for that one Spirit. And this one infinite presence is abundant. We see its abundance everywhere. We see out in nature how abundant this universe is we live in. We see out in the cosmos, oh my goodness, countless stars. We couldn't even count the number of stars and universes and galaxies that are out there. Abundance is everywhere in our view, and it is ours to have as well. We are meant to be prosperous. We are meant to experience the richness of the abundance of Spirit in all ways, not just to be materially satisfied, but to be freely expressed and fully expressed. And so I know right now, for everyone who is saying yes, for everyone who wants to understand this law of circulation, who wants to understand, how could I participate in a greater flow of life, in a greater vitality, in a greater sense of abundance, in a greater sense of freedom? For everyone who is saying yes to that the opening is happening right now, that the awakening is happening right now, that the flow of prosperity, that each one is now in that flow of prosperity, each one starting right where they are, the perfect place to start. And from that place, expanding into the greater and the greater and the greater. I am so thankful for this truth, for this awareness, and for the ways that each of us and all of us and the spiritual community are truly emerging into this infinite experience of prosperity and abundance. In gratitude, I just release this. I let it be. I release it to that immutable law that only knows to say yes. And so therefore, I know it is done just as I have declared, touching and agreeing with each person here. I let it be. We ground it together with the words, and so it is. Amen. So good to be here with you this morning. I love this topic of prosperity because I grew up not understanding this at all or believing this at all. I grew up with a lot of lack mentality, and I was able to even have some pretty good degree of reaping prosperity. But as I said in my talk, it often was through struggle and strain. And so I love this way much more, where I can just be in the flow of life, trusting and knowing that my needs, my desires are meant to be fulfilled. So this morning, I want to talk to you briefly before we do our offering about this committed giving program. And I believe that Phyllis is going to give us a little testimonial. So I think I'll let her give a testimonial first, and then I'll come back and just speak to you a little bit about this committed giving program, what it looks like, etc. So is Phyllis there and ready to go? And someone give me a signal when it's time for me to come back, because I can't necessarily take in everything.
No one can hear me. Sorry. So now I see my donations as an exchange of energy. As I continue to learn about the law of circulation, giving as I receive through divine guidance and through all of my experiences here. The wonderful spiritual messages, the meditations, the classes, the workshops, and my fellowship with you all. So I recognize now, as I continue to learn, that the Spirit of God is expressing in, as, and through me, and through all. And this connection is a power at work in every aspect of my life. I donate because the philosophy of science of mind works in my life. Continually, I am uplifted through fellowship with you. And the good that comes with participation here. This is God working in, as, and through us. So several years ago, I retired from work. And then I thought, now I will live on a fixed income. So I came to realize that this is a self-limiting concept. And almost immediately after I retired, I received a notice from a legal firm in Tampa saying that I was owed a substantial amount of money from a fund that I had forgotten about in New Jersey years ago. So of course, they wanted to handle this for me, but on my own, I went online. Do you know the state of Florida unclaimed treasure or unclaimed monies? Sure enough. So I called the guy that does my taxes and I said, would you verify this? And he did. And so from that, no, there is no limit. We never know, as long as we're open to receive our good. So from that, I was able to help my brother, help two other friends, close friends, make an extra donation here, and recognize the prosperity, the wonderful prosperity, always present every day. So again, this is God working, the law of circulation, giving, receiving with joy, with love. And so thanks all for your support to me and our friendship. Thank you.
I can hear. I'm just waiting to hear. He's talking. Reverend Gregory, can you hear us? There you go.
Yes, can you all hear me?
No, now we can.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I was saying that I love Phyllis's testimony, and this idea that she transcended of being on a fixed income. How beautiful is that? I'm always teaching that, right? Because the principle says that spirit within us is our unlimited source. So we get to transcend that. And Phyllis, that was a beautiful testimony of how one starts to transcend that. And I love where you started from. What you started from was, that's when you said, I'm now going to live on a fixed income. And you thought, that's a very limiting way of looking at my life. That's where it starts from, where we say, no, I'm not going to choose to think of myself as being on a fixed income. I'm going to choose to know that spirit within me is my unlimited source. So I'm not going to give a second talk. So I just want to say a few words about this committed giving program. The theme this year is emerging in transformative prosperity, which is very similar to a theme for me in my personal life in recent years, where I am really claiming unprecedented prosperity. And it's been a powerful intention for me that just keeps on showing up in amazing ways just by having that intention that I am stepping into unprecedented prosperity, not like getting back to some former point when I was in my corporate career and, in Silicon Valley and all of that, but beyond, experiencing abundance and freedom and vitality beyond anything I've ever experienced before, because that's what I believe we're all called to just keep stepping into the greater and greater, to know God in a deeper way. And when we know God in a deeper way, of course, our life is going to be so much more expansive. So in this program, you probably already received a letter from me, a pledge card, a brochure telling you about what this program is about. People often ask, well, what if I put down an amount and then my situation changes? No problem, because this is not like about an obligation or a bill or, pay up kind of thing. This is you telling us from what you know today, what your intention would be to give for 2022. And if your situation changes, you come back and tell us. What balances all of that out is because we're practicing intentionality and we're practicing giving consciously in the law of circulation. Any person whose situation changes and they have to give less is made up for by all of the people, because they're practicing the law of circulation, whose lives expand, they end up giving more. And I trust that will probably be most of you if you do it in this way. If you truly give intentionally, consciously, from love, from joy, from the sense of overflow and the sense of your own abundance, you cannot help but expand into your own prosperity. And then we all win, right? The spiritual community gets uplifted. The spiritual community is not thinking, how am I going to pay for this? And how am I going to pay for that? How am I going to pay for a door? And, how am I going to pay for this other thing? We all get lifted up by stepping into that greater sense of our abundance rather than being in fear and lack and limitation. This is the teaching that I really want to bring to us and to all of our spiritual communities and our greater movement. This is what we teach. So we have to step into that and embody that. We want to be the embodiment of what it is that we teach. And so I invite you to give. If you have questions, there's a committed giving team that can answer your questions. Malika is on that team, and also Melissa Tuff is on that team, myself on that team. Of course, you can also talk to anyone on the core council. So thank you for the ways that you give, and I hope you'll participate in this program. It's really, I'll just throw out one other thing, is that communities that have these committed giving programs across denominations have at least 30% more income than communities that don't have these sort of intentional programs around giving. And in CSL, when I was at home office and I mapped it for CSL and I looked at the communities that have committed giving programs versus the communities that don't, the communities that did and their members participated in those were twice as large financially as those that did not. So it says a lot about doing something consciously, intentionally. Let's be that community. Let's not be that other community that is half as large. Let's be the one that, because we're so intentional, we're so conscious, and we have such an abundance consciousness, that we're the example of the communities that thrive. That's who we're meant to be. Thank you so much. And I want to now do our normal conscious giving. So let us put that up. And, you know, there's so many ways that you can give. We make it really easy for you to participate with us in the law of circulation. You can text your donation to 239-320-3820. You can go through PayPal at cslcapecoral.org. You can go directly to the website, capecoral.org. Even make a, just put it in there like, okay, like every month or every week, I want to give this amount, and you won't even have to think about it. The law of circulation will be working for you beyond your even having to take any particular step. Or you can do it old school and just put it in the mail to CSL Cape Coral at 406 Southeast 24th Street or 24th Avenue, Cape Coral, Florida, 33990. Thank you so much for the ways that you give. And so let us do this affirmation together on tithing, our tithing affirmation. Today, I know the activity of divine abundance is at work in my life and the life of this center. I give and receive generously as I live in the flow of bountiful good. And so it is. And I just bless all the gifts that each one is giving, knowing, oh my goodness, that we are in the flow of such abundance, such lavish abundance, and we are able to receive and give so freely that we lift up our whole world. Everything around us is lifted up simply because we are stepping into the truth of our own abundance and prosperity. I bless these gifts. I know they go forward and do such great works and then return right back to us multiplied. And this process starts again. And we just keep stepping into the greater and the greater. I give thanks, I let it be, and so it is. Blessings all.
Let's give Reverend Gregory some more love. I always forget to introduce myself in the morning. I am Linda Lloyd, one of the practitioners here at Centers for Spiritual Living, and I am today, right here, right now, your human invitation to all these really cool, wonderful, and fun things that we get up to here at the center. So on November 7th, following Sunday celebration, we will be holding a special meeting for members to vote on updates and to our bylaws. So please mark your calendar if you would like to participate in this, and we would love for you to participate. Next week, join us following Sunday celebration for this wonderful workshop facilitated by our guest speaker, Matt Jones. It is offered on a love donation basis, and it is a metaphysical buffet. And I'm sure you can see probably Melissa for more information on that if you have any questions. Join Patty Carney for You Say Holy Fire 3 Reiki Master Teacher as she facilitates the instruction of Reiki 1 and 2 on October 16th, which is a Saturday, and it is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that is a Zoom meeting on both of those Saturdays. So visit our calendar at cslcapecoral.org or check your email for a link to register. And join us on Saturday, October 30th from 6 to 9 for our fun-filled spooktacular. We have wonderful celebrations here, and this group likes to party and dance. So purchase your tickets online by visiting our calendar at cslcapecoral.org, or you can buy them in the bookstore. And the proceeds benefit our entry doors. If you come to this center often, you know that we have to walk around the building because we're having some problems with some of the doors. So this will also be funding that. And you can drop off your non-perishable donations on Tuesdays and Thursdays for our food drive from 10 to 2, or on Wednesdays for the update. What is it? What do we call that? Midweek tune-up. There we go. I lost it for a moment. And also on Sunday mornings. And we appreciate your continued support, and I know all of those receiving. And this is another way to be in that flow of bountiful good. I know a funny story myself. I help cook for the homeless on Mondays or on Tuesdays, and ever since I started doing that, I can't tell you how much food shows up in my life. My neighbor receives from their church. They're hooked up with Whole Foods for donations, and I can't tell you how much food, since I have started cooking for the homeless, how much food lands on me. So I was asking myself at one time, I do so much, I was like, do I really have time to do this? Do I want to do this? And this food kept showing up, so that was my my great signal to I have to have an outlet. I have to do something with it. My son can attest to this. Sometimes our refrigerator is so full of food. I look forward to that Tuesday of getting some of it out, and then it just fills right back up again. So we are doing our 1-minute miracles again. The practitioners come up afterwards, so we would love to pray with you. So come and join us after service. And now I invite you all to stand. This is our segment where we stand in the light for one another, for our friends, our loved ones, our families. And here is where we are holding the possibilities and the truth for any situations and circumstances. So, as we allow ourselves to go within, to that still space within, to that place of love, I am standing in the light for our spiritual center, knowing continued prosperity and abundance and a wonderful, amazing new minister. Standing in the light for Doug, recovering from open heart surgery. Standing in the light for Erica, all needs met. Standing in the light for Melissa and sending her off with so much love and light on her trip to Tennessee. I'm standing in the light for all the unspoken prayers, and I invite you to put your own name in this center of light. Linda. So how good it is to come together. So grateful for this time together this morning to celebrate and to honor life together. Recognizing one life, one source supply, maintaining, sustaining substance that is everywhere present in its fullness. Not a little bit over here and more over there. Oh no, it is everywhere in its fullness. It is in its fullness right here, right now. And that life goes ahead of us, providing all that is needed before it is needed. We have a lifetime supply of air. We have a lifetime supply of food and water on this planet. All needs met. So how good it is to celebrate on this day together. And just knowing that as we leave here today, that we go out into grace. And it is a great, grand, glorious, good God day once again, for it has always been, and it continues to be. And for this and so much more, we do give thanks. And I invite you to anchor this with me by saying the words, and so it is. Amen.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Have a good week.